everybody, to the Superhumanistic podcast, where we talk about all things health, wellness, and longevity. Thank you for joining us today. We are your hosts. I'm David.
I'm Jessica.
Make sure that you hit that subscribe and follow button on this podcast so you never miss another episode. We put out one episode a week on Saturdays. Also, check us out on YouTube and on social media, and don't forget to share this podcast with someone that you love so they can live a longer, healthier life as well. Last week, we talked about 3 ways that you can sharpen your mind, very easy techniques to utilize. One example of that is to move deliberately each day. So if you want to hear more about those tips and we break it down and make that easy for you to implement into your life, go back and listen to last week's episode. This week
we're actually going to be answering a question that literally everyone asks at some point in our life. When am I actually going to see results from working out?
Yeah, let's be honest. We don't all just start working out for the fun of it, although sometimes we do if you're into sports and things like that. But you definitely want to see those results at some point.
Yeah, a lot of times we end up giving up because we're not seeing those results as soon as we had expected to see them, whether it be losing weight, so that fat loss, getting muscles, having more energy, or just overall feeling better. We want something to happen.
Yeah, most people expect results right away, especially in today's modern society where you get everything instantaneous. Yeah. You order something on Amazon, it's at your door the next day or even sooner. You can get pretty much anything you want at your fingertips these days. Social media provides that instant gratification in different ways as well. So you definitely got to learn how to be patient.
Yeah. And then, of course, like as soon as we're not seeing them, we're like, all right, well, I'm done. What am I doing in life? Like, why am I even bothering with this? Right. So we often quit within that first week or two. Once starting like a new regimen or routine, whatever it is, we end up like, all right, I'm done because I'm not seeing the benefits of this.
Experts actually say, though, that, you're basically changing. You don't actually always see it early on, but really those results are going to come later. You're kind of just having those internal changes right now, and that's what experts say is happening early on when you first start to work out.
Yeah, so that's like the hard part, that we are actually having internal changes occurring within those first couple of weeks, but then because we're not seeing the physical changes, we end up giving up.
Yeah, it's going to be the internal first. So in those first couple weeks, your body is really adapting neurologically. Your brain is literally learning how to use your muscles more efficiently.
So this is why we might feel stronger quickly, even before we look any different. So sometimes we'll work out, we feel like, oh, that was a good workout. And that's why, because we're having some of those internal changes occurring, even though physically we might not see that benefit yet.
All right, next we are going to break down what that realistic timeline of results actually looks like. So let's go ahead and jump into what people can actually expect realistically.
Right, so the first couple of weeks, so we're talking week 1 and week 2 here, we'll start to see some of those mental and energy shifts. You'll notice like your mood is starting to change. You're slightly more energetic. You're getting deeper sleep at night. So you wake up feeling like, rejuvenated and ready to go for the day. So those are the changes that we'll start to see the first couple of weeks.
But visually, probably nothing yet. And that's normal at this point. So weeks 3 to 4 is what we're going to jump into next. And that's going to be your strength and performance phase. This is when people start saying, hey, I kind of feel like these weights are feeling a little bit lighter. And it shouldn't be like that one time in the gym when you had a 15 and a 10 in the other. So yeah, if you have a 10 in the other, it's always going to feel a little lighter.
Okay. So you're also building strength. Your coordination is getting better as well. And then that endurance, right? You're able to work out for longer times. It doesn't feel as daunting now when you go to the gym.
Yeah, so then weeks 4 through 8, so let's jump into what really you're gonna see in those weeks 4 to 8, and that's really gonna be those subtle physical changes at this point.
Yeah, so that's where we're going to say, like, oh, I'm starting to see the benefit on whether it be the scale, if you weigh yourself, or physically looking at yourself, you're like, oh, I am seeing a little bit of my biceps now popping out. So things start to show. Our clothes might fit a little differently as well.
Yeah, you're gonna see some of that small fat loss or maybe a little bit of muscle tone, as you were kind of mentioning there. But that's really also gonna also depend on if your nutrition is dialed in as well. We talk about that in previous episodes quite a bit, so check that out in those previous episodes. We're not going to get into that too much at this moment, but really next we're going to focus on what happens in weeks 8 through 12, and that's when you start to see those noticeable results finally. So now we're talking. This is when other people might start noticing, maybe some family members or friends might mention, hey, I'm kind of noticing you've lost a few pounds there. So again, that's weeks 8 through 12.
Yeah, this is the exciting part of starting that routine that we started 8 weeks ago, 12 weeks ago. Finally, people are noticing that I've lost some weight, and all of my work that I put into losing this weight is finally being noticed. We're getting that external validation, right? Like, yes, I can be internally motivated, but it's that external motivation that like really gets me going and like, yeah, this is worth the time that I've spent in the gym now.
All right, next we'll jump right into that 3 to 6 month range, which is really that transformation phase and when all that starts to happen, because that's where if you're being consistent in the gym, going 3 to 4 to 5 times a week, again, also working on your nutrition as well, that's where you're going to start to actually see results and it starts to pay off.
Yeah, so now that we're getting into the months here, right? 3 to 6 months, we really are looking at, and again, it's all about consistency. So if you've been consistent with not only your workout routine, but then also adding in that nutrition piece, you're going to see the real body composition changes happening here.
Yeah, consistency is super important, but also don't beat yourself up if you miss a day here or a day there. As long as you're overall staying consistent, that's what is important. Making those steps each day to enter the gym and get some sort of workout done. And then also, again, pairing that with that nutrition piece. So next, we'll jump into why people don't see results. And it's really just goes back to that. You're not seeing results in those timelines because you're probably not staying consistent.
Right, exactly. So that's why I say too, like, so number one, it is that inconsistency. So don't set a goal for yourself to be like, all right, I've never worked out my entire life, but I know it's time to start working out. So I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. Let's start a little bit slower. So maybe you set the goal of like, I'm going to make it to the gym at least twice this week. So start off slow, and then as you start to see those internal changes, that mood is changing, you're starting to like feel better, getting deeper sleep, then start to increase how many times you want to go to the gym.
Yeah, if you're working out 3 days 1 week and then 0 days the next week, that's just not going to provide the results that you want.
And number two is that nutrition piece.
Yeah, you cannot out-train a bad diet, period. I see it all the time. You see the people that are working out in the gym constantly, always on the treadmill, always working out, and still look relatively the same in terms of weight.
Yeah, they're like, I've been at the gym all day, bro. Really?
2 to 3 hours.
Doing what? Like, a what? So number three is when we set those unrealistic expectations, right? So I'm going to go super hard at the gym, but then like I end up injuring myself and I can't work out for the next 3 weeks. So don't like push yourself too hard before you actually start to get the feel of what it is to work out again.
Yeah, social media, I think, has completely warped what we expect as normal progress and what that actually looks like. So next we'll jump into how to really speed up those results. And if someone wants to maximize their results, here's what actually works. And that's going to be that number one, progressive overload.
Yeah, you need to gradually increase your weights, your reps, or intensity. So choosing like one of those things to increase. And doing all three, of course, at one time is okay too, but making sure like it fits with you and like how you're feeling in the gym. Number 2 is going to be that protein intake.
Yeah, I think a good rule of thumb that a lot of people go by is that 1 gram per pound of body weight or so. So that's always a good measurement there. Make sure you're getting enough protein. That's going to help you build that muscle.
Yeah. And then number 3, which is equally as important as the others, is that sleep. So your body needs to recover in order to grow as well. So if we're not allowing our bodies to recover, then we're not going to get those benefits. We're going to be really sore all of the time, and then we're not going to be able to lift heavier for longer periods of time. So we want to make sure we're also getting enough sleep. And then consistency, right? We said that earlier, say it again, and constantly it needs to be consistent over perfection.
All right, done is better than perfect every single time. So next we'll jump into the mind shift. The mindset shift, actually.
Which is the hardest part, right? Our minds are truly our largest barrier, whether it be working out, just day-to-day life things. Our mindset and how we think about things is our biggest barrier in life. So here's the truth. If you only work out for visible results, we're not going to have that consistency, right? We'll quit way too early because we're not seeing the results as we want to see.
If you focus on becoming the type of person who just shows up consistently no matter what, that's when everything really changes. Make sure that you design your life around making it easier to go to the gym. That's putting out your workout clothes the day before and just creating those little small systems and removing those barriers that are going to prevent you from going to the gym. Just make your life easy around it. When it comes to eating healthy, it's basically the same thing, removing the bad stuff and putting the good stuff into the fridge.
Yeah, when setting your goal, don't make it a physical goal. Make it more so a goal of how you want to feel in the end of whatever the weeks are that you're setting that goal for. You can put a physical goal with that, but more so set it like, I want to feel like I have more energy when I wake up in the mornings. I want to feel like I can go and play with my kids or spend more time doing certain things. So set it more so for the mood because we're building discipline. It's not about building our bodies that we want. A little bit, yes, it is. We will get that as a secondary benefit in this, but it's more that discipline piece. So then once I've set my goal, okay, I'm going to work out for 2 days this week, like literally tell yourself that you're proud of yourself for doing that. Like we need that validation from ourselves just as much as what we get from others later on in the process.
So if you're just starting out, give yourself at least 8 to 12 weeks before you judge those results.
Yeah, remember what you're doing today is building the version of you that you'll see, months from now.
All right, that's what we have for you today. If this episode helped you, make sure that you share it with someone who's on their fitness journey as well.
Yeah. All right. And we'll see you next time on Superhumanistic. Bye.